Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Got a little 4K update, some new stuff that I've gotten in, a couple of things in for review, a couple of things I bought from Amazon during the Prime Day specials. And we'll begin appropriately enough with something from the late Richard Donner, who passed away this week at the age of 91, the director of Lethal Weapon, the entire franchise, Goonies, The Omen, Superman, so many good films, even Scrooge with Bill Murray. His stuff, I watch all those films at least once a year, but Superman was probably the first time I had heard of Richard Donner. Probably the TV cut when it aired on TV, but very excited to have this 4K UHD of Superman. I already redeemed the code, so don't worry about it. But Superman, still one of my favorite superhero movies. It brings that sense of nostalgia, of awe, that you will believe a man can fly. And when I saw this movie, I was about 5 years old, and I believed a man could fly. Christopher Reeves, the late Christopher Reeves, will always be my Superman. But there you go. Richard Donner's Superman, the movie on 4K. Up next, a purchase from a used shop, Super 8, a little Steven Spielberg nostalgia porn here from J.J. Abrams. Lens flares and all, I love it. Brings that Goonies by way of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Just really love Super 8. Excited to have it on 4K. Another purchase, something from Tim Burton. I wish I could put Mars Attacks on 4K. I don't know how well that would look because of the special effects in it, but something tells me I just want the HDR and 4K definition for Mars Attacks. But something quite different from him. I think it's one of his best films. Big Fish, story about a man trying to connect with his terminally ill, aging father. My father passed away last year, but even before that, movies with daddy issues, a connection between a father and a son, always get me a bit teary-eyed. I cry like a baby every time I watch Big Fish. I think it's one of Tim Burton's best films, one of his most mature films. It's just a great story, visually imaginative, but I think it's got a stronger story than most of his films do. Up next, Animal House on 4K. I remember watching this at my grandmother's house. She fell asleep on the couch when she was babysitting me, and I had never heard of it. Tuned into it, I was single digits, probably 7 or 8. Watched the entire thing, thought it was the most outrageous body thing I'd ever seen in my life. Probably popping a heart on the whole time. I didn't understand half of what was going on, but I watch this movie a couple times a year. I love it. Looking forward to catching it on 4K. Not Tim Burton. I was not a fan of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Tim Burton's reimagining of Charlie and Willy Wonka. But Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory came out on 4K. It looks gorgeous with the 4K color grading, the expanded high dynamic range. Looks terrific. It starts out, it's kind of a dismal looking film starting out. You get to know Charlie, his home life, living with his grandparents and his mother. They're penniless. It feels dingy the way it should. Once they go into the Chocolate Factory, things come to life. The HDR looks fantastic. Unfortunately, no Dolby Atmos track on this one. I think that might be because every time I've heard this film, the audio sounds a little bit off. There's some distortion, the songs clip a little bit, so DTS HD is perfectly fine with this. But Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, highly recommended if you're 4K UHD enabled. It's a terrific looking film. Something sent in for review. I haven't watched it yet. Space Jam. When this came out in the 90s, I was already in my 20s. I loved Looney Tunes, but they hadn't been funny in years at this point. I think I did enjoy Looney Tunes Back in Action, Joe Dante directed. But Space Jam, 4K UHD, no new extras, digital copy. Heard good things about the transfer, but again, at that point in my life, I wasn't about Looney Tunes. I hate sports, so I didn't give a shit about Michael Jordan and basketball, but I'm looking forward to revisit it and give it another shot. Something I picked up during the Amazon Prime Day sale. I'd been wanting this for a while. It's usually selling for about 52 bucks on Amazon. They had it for an unbelievable $29.99. So I jumped on that toot sweet. For some reason, mine came with an extra disc of Rear Window. It was packaged in with 2 discs. And then it actually caused a rip. That's the other disc there. But some of Hitchcock's best. I would love to see his entire catalog. Get the 4K treatment. But we got Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, and The Birds. Might have to send in for a fixed disc for Psycho. I'm not sure if this is one of the ones that had an issue with the playback on it, or I'm actually not sure what the issue was. And last but certainly not least, from Blue Underground, who have been killing the 4K game all last year, this year, Gary Sherman's Dead and Buried. This has an option to order it with 3 different covers. This is the burned cover, obviously, because that is someone being burned. There's the classic needle in the eye, and then there's the original artwork. The original artwork is still my favorite. I got sent this for a review, so I didn't get to pick it. Comes with 3 discs. Got a Blu-ray, 4K, a book, 20-page booklet with writing from Michael Gingold, former Fango editor, and it also comes with a CD soundtrack. This is the new 4K scan from an Interpositive, the 35mm elements. The previous Blue Underground releases, I think it was on Blu-ray once, maybe twice from them, had encoding issues. There was banding, artifacting. No such problems with this new 4K scan. This is gorgeous. But do keep in mind, this is a film that was shot with kind of a soft focus and foggy, dim exteriors and interiors. You're not going to see that glossy, high def you're looking for in a newer release, but it perfectly captures the vibe they were going for. If you've never seen this movie, I highly recommend it. This is one of the gems from the 80s I think is still overlooked, despite having at least 3 home video releases. Stuff on here includes, there's 3 audio commentaries, 2 archival, a new one with Troy Howarth, which is an instant upgrade for me. If I see Troy is doing a commentary, it's instantly worth an upgrade. There's also behind the scenes, Dead and Buried. That's a half hour of behind the scenes Super 8mm footage from the making of, with some commentary from director Gary Sherman and friends. Dead and Buried locations then and now. Murders, Mystery, and Music, interview with director Gary Sherman and composer Joe Renzetti. As they sit around together, they're in 2 comfy-looking chairs talking about the process of scoring the film, how they ended up with the big band music, and how they've worked together several times since. That runs about 15 minutes. The Locations Then and Now runs 4 minutes. Murders, Mystery... Oh, no. Where'd it go? The Pages of Potter's Bluff, interview with novelization author Chelsea Quinn Yarborough. That's a really good interview with the person who wrote the novelization for the film, which is cool. I wish they had more interviews with people who did novelizations. I've never read this one, but it's a fantastic interview. She talks about her process, how she goes about it, how fast she does it, and then they show scenes from the movie with the pages, the text from her novelization over those scenes. It's very cool. There's also a ton of poster galleries, trailers, archival interviews with Robert Englund, Mr. Freddy Krueger himself, who had a small role in this film. Also from Stan Winston, who did the makeup effects for this, most of which look great. There's one where the guy gets acid poured up his nose. That's not so great, but I thought everything else was fantastic. And what else do we got on here? There's also CD soundtrack. Dan O'Bannon, the writer. Dan O'Bannon, director of Return of the Living Dead, writer of Alien, the script writer. Terrific stuff. Can't say enough good things about this. Go into it with tempered expectations. Like I said, it's not going to be a super glossy, ultra HD, crisp image you're used to. It's the way it was shot. It's grainy, but the grain is finely resolved. There's no artifacting. Colors with the HDR look fantastic. Skin tones are warm. Everything looks fantastic. Highly recommended. If I was to suggest one release out of all of these that I talked about today, it's going to be Dead and Buried. Fantastic. Highly recommended. Love the lenticular covers. I would have gone with a needle in the eye or the original movie poster artwork, which is still my favorite, but I highly recommend it. Dead and Buried, 1981, from Gary Sherman, who directed I don't know why I'm having a space for it. And I'm drinking. I'm on my third beer, so I'm drinking. Raw Meat. Raw Meat is what I'm thinking of. If you've seen Raw Meat, it's the cannibal living down in the subway in London. Very cool. But thanks for tuning in, folks. Checking out my new 4Ks with me. See you next time.